everyone. Welcome back to the show. Today we have something really special for you. We are going to talk about one of the biggest problems that English learners face every single day. And trust me, by the end of this episode, you are going to feel so much better about speaking English. I am Eva, and I'm here with my co-host George, and we are so happy you joined us today.
Hey everyone, George here. I remember the first time I tried to speak English in front of people. I was so nervous and my words sounded so robotic and strange. It felt like I was reading from a textbook, not having a real conversation.
George, that is such a relatable feeling. Almost every English learner goes through that same experience. You study all the grammar rules, you memorize all the vocabulary, but when you open your mouth to actually speak, something feels very wrong. Today, we are going to fix that problem together.
Exactly. And here's what I want you to think about right now. Have you ever listened to a native English speaker and thought, wow, how do they make it sound so easy? Like, how does everything just flow out of their mouth so naturally? Well, there's actually a secret to that, and we're going to share it with you today.
Oh, George, I love that you said that. Because honestly, sounding natural in English is not about being perfect. It's not about knowing every single grammar rule. It's about understanding how real people actually talk in real life situations. And that's a completely different thing from what most people learn in school.
That is so true, Eva. Most English classes teach you the formal textbook version of the language. But real conversations are totally different. People use short forms, they speak quickly, they skip some words, and they connect their sentences in ways that grammar books never explain. So let's start right from the beginning.
Okay, so tip number one. And this is the most important thing we're going to say today, so please pay close attention. Stop trying to translate in your head. I know, it sounds scary, but when you think in your own language first and then translate everything to English, it slows you down and makes you sound unnatural. George, can you explain that a little more? Because I think a lot of people are wondering, okay, Eva, but how do I just stop translating? Like, that feels impossible.
Great question. So here's a simple exercise you can start today. Pick 5 very common English phrases that you use every day. Things like, I'm hungry, or I need help, or that sounds good. Practice those phrases so many times that you don't need to think about them anymore. They just come out automatically, like a reflex.
Oh, I love that idea. It's like training your brain to think in English for small, easy things first. And then slowly, your brain starts to do it for bigger things too. You're basically building a new habit in your brain. And habits take practice, but they do work.
Exactly. And here's something really exciting. Did you know that native English speakers don't think about grammar when they talk? They just speak from what feels natural to them. So your goal is not to memorize grammar rules during a conversation. Your goal is to practice so much that the right words just come naturally.
Wow, okay. So that brings us to tip number 2, which I'm really excited to talk about. And this one might surprise you. One of the best ways to sound more natural in English is to listen, not to speak. Yes, you heard that right. Listening is actually one of the most powerful tools you have.
Eva, yes. When you listen to real English conversations like podcasts, movies, TV shows, or even YouTube videos, your brain is absorbing how people actually talk. It's like giving your brain a model to copy. The more you listen, the more natural patterns get stored inside your head.
And here's the key part. Do not just listen passively like background music. Really pay attention to how people connect their words. Notice how they say gonna instead of going to, or wanna instead of want to. These small things make a huge difference in how natural you sound.
That is such a great point, and I want to add something here. When you listen, also pay attention to the rhythm of English. English has a very specific music to it. Some words are stressed and said loudly, and other words are said quickly and softly. Getting that rhythm right is a huge part of sounding natural.
Okay, so rhythm is so important. And George, can you give us a quick example of what you mean? Because I think hearing an example will really help our listeners understand this.
Sure. So, for example, think about this sentence. I want to go to the store. Now, if you say every single word with the same stress and the same speed, it sounds very robotic. But in real English, it sounds more like, I want to go to the store. The important words like go and store get more stress, and the smaller words kind of melt together.
That is a perfect example. And honestly, if you practice that one thing, just melting the small words together, you will already start to sound so much more natural. It is not about being lazy with your English, it's about speaking the way real people actually do speak.
All right, let's move to tip number 3. And this one is really fun. Okay, so here it is. Use filler words and conversation phrases. Now, filler words are those little words and sounds that people use while they're thinking. Things like, I mean, actually, well, kind of, sort of.
George, I love this tip because it's something that nobody ever teaches in English class. But every single native speaker uses these words constantly. And when you use them too, you sound so much more like a real person having a real conversation instead of a robot reciting sentences.
Exactly, Eva. And the beautiful thing is, filler words also buy you a little time when you need to think. So instead of having an awkward silence, you can say, well, let me think about that. Or, that's actually a really good question. It keeps the conversation flowing smoothly.
And let's give our listeners a little list of some really useful conversation starters and phrases to practice. Things like, that makes sense, I totally agree, that's interesting, right? No way, tell me more. These phrases are gold for making your English sound real and natural.
I love those. Let's also talk about something called shadowing, because this is honestly one of the most powerful techniques for sounding natural, and it's completely free. Shadowing means you listen to someone speak English and then you repeat exactly what they said at the same time or just a second after. You copy their speed, their rhythm, their emotion, everything.
George, can you tell us how to actually do shadowing? Because I think people want to know the step by step.
Of course. So first, you pick a short clip of natural English, maybe a scene from a TV show you like or a short video on YouTube. Then you listen to it one time just to understand. Then you listen again and repeat out loud, trying to match the speaker exactly. Do this every day for just 5 or 10 minutes, and your speaking will improve very fast.
That is amazing advice. And here's why shadowing works so well. When you shadow, you're not just practicing words, you're practicing the whole package: the speed, the stress, the rhythm, the emotion. Your mouth is learning how to move in English, and your brain is learning what natural English actually feels like from the inside. Okay, we're about halfway through our tips now, and I want to check in with you, our listener. Are you enjoying this episode so far? Because we have so many more amazing tips coming up. We're going to talk about how to practice speaking even when you have nobody to practice with. Yes, you can actually practice English alone and make huge progress. Stay with us.
Eva, I love that we're going to talk about that because I know so many people feel stuck because they say, I have no one to speak English with. And I want to tell everyone right now that is not a valid excuse anymore after today. We are going to give you real solutions that actually work.
Okay, so tip number 4. This one is called talking to yourself, and I am completely serious. Talking to yourself in English is one of the most underrated language learning techniques in the entire world. Professional language learners and polyglots have been using this method for years and years. George, I do this myself, and it is so effective. So basically what you do is you just narrate your day in English, inside your head, or even out loud if you can. When you wake up, you think in English. When you are making breakfast, you describe what you are doing in English. When you are walking outside, you comment on things you see in English.
Yes, and when you do this, you start to notice gaps in your English. Maybe you want to describe something, but you do not know the word. That is your signal. That is the word you need to go learn next. This makes your vocabulary learning very targeted and very useful because you are learning exactly what you personally need.
And it makes your English feel personal to you because you're using words and topics from your own real life, not random textbook sentences about strangers going to the supermarket. You're talking about your life, your thoughts, your day. and that makes everything stick so much better in your memory.
Okay, tip number 5, and this is about something we call chunks. Not chocolate chunks, unfortunately. We are talking about language chunks. A chunk is a group of words that always go together in English. Native speakers learn language in chunks, not word by word. Eva, can you give some examples of chunks? Because I think that will make it very clear for everyone.
Yes, absolutely. So, for example, instead of learning the words look, forward, and to separately, you learn the whole phrase look forward to as one unit. Instead of learning make and decision separately, you learn make a decision as one chunk. These chunks are how native speakers think and talk in ready-made blocks of language.
That is so smart. And when you know these chunks, you don't have to build every sentence from scratch. You just plug in the chunks you already know and connect them together. It's like building with Lego blocks instead of making everything from individual pieces of plastic. The chunks are your Lego blocks.
And the best way to build your chunk library is to write down phrases, not just words. Every time you hear or read something in English and think, oh, that sounds natural, write it down as a whole phrase. Don't break it apart into individual words. Keep the whole phrase together so your brain learns it as one unit. Now I want to talk about something that a lot of English learners struggle with, and that is the fear of making mistakes. So many people stay silent because they're terrified of saying something wrong. George, do you want to address this?
Absolutely. And I want to say something very clearly right now. Mistakes are not your enemy. Mistakes are actually your best teacher. Every single time you make a mistake and someone corrects you or you notice it yourself, you learn something real. That's real progress happening in your brain.
I completely agree. And here's something really important to remember. Native English speakers make mistakes too, all the time. They say the wrong word, they forget what they were saying, they start a sentence and then change direction. But because they keep going with confidence, nobody really notices or cares.
So the key is confidence. Even if your English isn't perfect, if you speak with confidence and keep going, people will understand you and they will respect you for trying. The biggest mistake you can make in English is never speaking at all because you're too scared to make a mistake.
That is such a powerful point. And here is one more thing about mistakes. When you make a mistake, do not stop the whole conversation to correct yourself and apologize. Just keep going. Native speakers do this too. If you keep going, the conversation stays natural and comfortable. If you stop everything to say, sorry, I made a mistake, it becomes awkward.
All right, tip number 6 is about reading out loud. This is something that many people never do, but it is incredibly helpful for your speaking. When you read out loud, you practice moving your mouth in English. You practice connecting words. You practice the rhythm and flow of the language.
George, what kind of things should people read out loud? Because I think some people might not know where to start.
Great question. I would say start with simple things that you actually enjoy. If you like stories, read short, simple stories out loud. If you like news, read a simple news article out loud. If you like songs, sing along to English songs. The most important thing is that you're making your mouth practice English sounds and patterns regularly.
And here's a pro tip. Record yourself reading out loud. I know, nobody likes to hear their own voice, but when you listen back, you will hear exactly what you sound like to other people. You'll notice things you want to improve. And when you record yourself over time, you'll hear your own progress, which is incredibly motivating.
Oh yes, tracking your progress is so important for motivation. When you can actually hear yourself getting better, you want to keep going. It turns English learning from something that feels like a chore into something that feels exciting and rewarding. Your brain loves to see progress.
Okay, we are getting close to the end now, but we still have some really great stuff for you. Tip number 7 is about learning emotion in English, because language is not just about words and grammar. Language is about feeling. And to sound truly natural, you need to express emotion the way English speakers do.
Eva, this is so interesting. Can you explain what you mean by learning emotion in English? Because I think this is something very unique that most people do not think about.
Yes, so in English, when something is exciting, you say things like, oh wow, that's amazing, or no way, are you serious? When something is funny, you might say, "That is hilarious," or "I can't stop laughing." When you're surprised, you say, "Wait, what?" or "I had no idea." These emotional responses are a huge part of sounding natural.
Exactly. And different cultures express emotion differently in conversation. So even if you understand all the words, if you don't use these emotional response phrases, you might sound a little flat or disconnected. Practicing these responses makes your English feel alive and warm and real.
And here's a fun exercise for this. Watch a scene from a movie or TV show and focus only on how the characters react emotionally. Pay attention to what words they use when they're surprised, happy, confused, or excited. Then practice saying those same responses out loud yourself. It's fun and very effective. We are almost at our last tip now, and I have saved the best for last. This tip is the one that ties everything together. This is the secret ingredient that makes all the other tips work better. And George, do you want to do the honors and share it?
I would too. Okay, tip number 8, the final and most powerful tip. Be consistent. I know it sounds simple, but this is where most people fail. They practice English for 2 or 3 days when they feel motivated, and then they stop for 2 weeks, and then they start again, and then they stop again. That kind of practice does not work. Consistency is everything. It is better to practice English for 10 minutes every single day than to practice for 3 hours on one day and then nothing for a week. Your brain learns language through repetition over time, not through big cramming sessions.
And being consistent does not mean you have to do something huge every day. It can be something small. Listen to 5 minutes of an English podcast on your way to work. Read 2 sentences in English before bed. Say 3 new phrases out loud in the morning. Small things done every day create massive results over time.
That is so beautifully said, and I want to add one more thought about consistency. Be patient with yourself. Language learning takes time, and that is completely normal and okay. Some days will feel great, and some days will feel very hard. On the hard days, do not quit. Just do something small in English and keep going.
Okay, let us do a quick recap of everything we talked about today because there's so much good stuff in this episode. Tip 1, stop translating in your head. Practice small phrases until they become automatic. Tip 2, listen actively to real English and pay attention to rhythm and connected speech. Tip 3, use filler words and conversation phrases to sound more real.
And continuing the recap, tip 4, talk to yourself in English every day. Narrate your life and notice the gaps in your vocabulary. Tip 5, learn language in chunks, not just individual words. Write down whole phrases and use them as your building blocks. And tip 6, read out loud regularly and record yourself so you can hear your own progress.
And the last 2, tip 7, learn emotional response phrases so your English feels alive and connected. And tip 8, be consistent every single day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Small daily practice is the most powerful thing you can do for your English. George, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up today?
Yes, just one final thought. You're not going to sound perfectly natural in English overnight, and that's completely okay. Every single person who sounds natural in English today went through the same struggles you're going through right now. They kept practicing, they kept making mistakes, they kept listening and speaking, and eventually it clicked. And it will click for you too.
That is such an encouraging way to end. I want every single person listening right now to know that you can do this. English is learnable, natural conversation is learnable, and you've already taken a big step today just by listening to this episode and wanting to improve. That matters so much.
And we want to hear from you. What was your favorite tip from today? Is there something that you're going to try starting today? Let us know in the comments because we genuinely love hearing from our listeners and learning about your English journey.
Yes, please comment and share this episode with someone you know who's learning English because this kind of content could really change their experience with the language. And if you want more episodes like this one, make sure you subscribe so you never miss anything we put out. We have so many more great topics coming very soon. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. You are amazing for choosing to invest in yourself and in your English. We are so proud of you. This is Eva.
And this is George. Keep practicing, stay consistent, and remember, every day your English is getting better, even when it does not feel like it. We will see you in the next episode. Take care, everyone.